Every month is a special evening of poetry and camaraderie, but I feel this evening is a little more extra special. We have 3 wonderful featured poets, and I will be introducing them each in turn. Our first featured poet almost needs no introduction, but she's going to get one. Gloria Mindock is editor of Červená Barva Press and the author of 6 poetry collections, 2 book translations in Romanian and Serbian, 3 chapbooks, a children's book, and a partridge and a pear. Oh, that's not in there. Okay. Her poems have been published and translated into 11 languages. Ash won 7 book awards. Her new book, Grief Touched the Sky at Night, is forthcoming by Glass Lyre Press in November 2023. That's up and coming. Gloria was a Poet Laureate in Somerville in 2017, 2018. You can find out more about her on www.gloriamindock.com.
Thank you, Harris. It's an honor to read tonight, and especially to read with my dear friends Pui and Tim. They are an inspiration, and I can't wait to hear them read. So my new book will be out in November, and here it is, a proof copy. I'm so excited. And I'm going to be reading from this book tonight, and it's about the war in Ukraine. And the first poem is called Numb. War is bursting, fate is always death. Flames move from building to building, bodies scorched. The landscape is caught in the language of the enemy. Nothing seems real. A bewildered population picks up guns, praying for some magic to happen. Is this a dream, pain numbed by gunfire, a crucifixion of bullets? A makeshift cemetery where the bodies fell? It is obvious. This decomposing won't stop. Bandages won't help. The worm will find his way.
Mm-hmm.
My sister and I always wanted to go to Ukraine, to Kiev, to hear the bells. They are absolutely beautiful. If you go on YouTube, you can hear the bells from some of the churches there. And this poem is called Bells of Kiev. The churches are empty, half standing, no bells to ring, and the wreckage lays a cross no one has touched. Jesus lays there broken. Is there a meaning to this? Will he rise again in this country? Someone will pick him up, carry him in their arms, kiss the cross he is on. Everyone needs to be protected, to be loved. Someone else will find his hand, no nails binding the freedom we all need. On 60 Minutes, there were 2 Ukrainian women who were prisoners in Russia, and they had a prisoner exchange. And this, I guess hearing them talk, it inspired this poem, and it's called Bandages. In a Russian prison, she could hear the cries of Ukrainian men being raped. She was pregnant. Her husband did not know. All she wanted was her baby to be born in Ukraine, speaking to her stomach, urging, "Wait, little one." In a prisoner exchange, her baby was born in Ukraine. Another woman, so brutalized, she was not sure she would live, yet she's ready to fight again. Still, she did not want to leave home. Bombed out shell, dried blood in the dirt, wreckage like abstract art, a boot in the road filled with flowers, someone mourning a life, mourning their life. In some villages, every heart stopped beating at once. Can a village survive supported by the beating hearts of only 2? Yet the women carry on in the footprints stretched out before them, walking the same path, breathing a different story for a free Ukraine. The Blindfold. Blindfold me so I don't see the damage, the dead bodies or blood on the ground. Wrap the blindfold tightly around my eyes so I don't see the Russian tanks. Puncture my ears so I don't hear the siren that a missile is coming. Tie my hands together so I can't take a life. God would not want me to do this. Bind my legs so I won't run and flee from my home. Stop my heart from feeling loss, sadness, and grief before it overwhelms me. The soldiers are killing my family and friends, slitting their throats and burning them. I know this. Remove my blindfold, untie my hands, give me my hearing back, give me a weapon. The faucet. The faucet is dripping. I cup my hand to drink a few drops. It is not enough. My throat is dry, and the distance between dry and wet is enormous. How many times have I taken advantage of things, thinking things will always be okay? In the next room, a family hides like me. When are we ever safe? My mouth is stuffed with death, waiting for the blast. With regret, I open the window for air, but only smoke seeps in. I can't breathe. This is my final thought until tomorrow. I will try again to drink from the few things life still offers. I don't mourn. I mourn what I throw away. Old paintings, photographs, objects, writings. Each thing drifts in the wind trying to stick to life, but can't. Is this me too, trying to hang on? No one has the same memories, same things in possession. Must I give all this up? Ignore me, I don't mourn. Best to close down, shut my eyes tight until darkness is my fate. I can have little funerals daily as I pitch out life. This way, you will never own me. You don't want to anyway. Junk to you. From the grave, hope my things will visit me. I don't want to be alone. Maybe you will sit by stone and talk, carrying in your pocket your favorite thing of mine. I'm not talking much in between them because what is there to say? And so this next one is called Sometimes. Sometimes even the wind gets tired. Maybe today it doesn't want to blow. Maybe today the earth would like to stop spinning. Gravity would like to let go. Imagine everything drifting into space, people and objects not mattering anymore, a stampede of floating humans surrounded by junk. Sometimes I like to forget all wars. Maybe someday they will stop. There will be no buttons to push, no nuclear missiles to end the earth. Maybe someday I will smile again and the warm air will just be warm, no fire to burn us to ash. Maybe someday I will see you again, standing in your kitchen with a drink, not minding the darkness around us. The dark, a dream that awakened us. Reality is something we don't want. No light calling on our hearts to fix things. Maybe sometimes it feels good to forget. Stone. It is never over. The dying, one after another. A procession like words on a page used continuously. Gravestones firm on the ground. It is the only time you can be secure. Take a stance on the ground. The weeds will no longer make you itch. Your heart will not bleed from sadness. Belongings all gone, taking shelter somewhere. The people you know will be gone soon, if not already. Take comfort like me. There will always be chaos, no matter where you are, but once in the coffin, rest. Roots reach for the dirt, bones grab for texture, an object only collected on earth, trying to find a place among stones. Once again, you want to be heard. You want to be remembered each time the wind hits the face of the living. My last moments. In hiding, blending in with the walls, complete darkness, no panic, night explosions ruin my solitude. One blast after another, the doves are in the trash. I wanted a life but have none, no shoes or a place to go. I sit and entertain myself, sneaking a peek out the window. I dream of a beautiful breeze touching my face. The moon gives me comfort. All I hear are heavy boots coming for me. When I was a little girl, I thought the world was a beautiful place. I was wrong. I can smell the stench of dead bodies. Soon I will be among them. Aren't we all waiting for the slaughter? We are animals, sharp teeth bearing. There is no Eden, only this God-forsaken place. Life's destroyed, mine destroyed, thrown away. We all are thrown away. Bodies with hearts cut out by the enemy, rotting in a pile, mangled. And I'm going to end with a new poem, which has nothing to do with Ukraine, but I'm sorry it's dark too, but maybe not quite as dark. And this is called Without. The light switch is on in every room to give light. Why is it? Without, it is dark. The curtains open and close so much during life. Sometimes the cord breaks. Day after day, is this all there is? Sometimes I question, sometimes I won't. The darkness slaps my heart until it breaks, pieces of it on the floor. It has a wanting to still beat in my body. Stuck with despair, the heart does not give up. Now it is just in different form. There is no halting for it. No trick is played, just an acceptance that an empty space will always be inside my body. Air being consistent, being a burden, not being a burden, I still breathe. It is never too late to exhibit the heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Glo. That's sort of like, and your style and themes of poems make me think a little bit of Carolyn Forche being poetry of witness. And moving right on, our next featured poet is Tim Suermondt. He's one half of tonight's husband and wife team of poets. His sixth full-length book of poems is A Doughnut and the Great Beauty of the World, will be coming out in 2023 from MadHat Press. He has published in Poetry, Ploughshares, Prairie Schooner, the Georgia Review, Bellevue Literary Review, Stand Magazine, Smartish Pace, the Fortnightly Review, Poet Laureate, and Plume, among many others. So, and he and his wife are both poets from Cambridge. Please welcome Tim Suermondt.
Thank you, Harris. And always good to read with Gloria and Pui, of course. And thanks to all of you, friends and good friends, for coming out. So let's just jump right in. I'm going to start the first poem is the title, not the title, but it's the first poem in the collection, Doughnut collection. Along the forest parkway, like apes, we swing from the sturdy branches, going out of our way to collide with each other. We're in love and still young enough to savor every opportunity. Tragedy is so far away, you can't even see it dimly on the horizon. It's not doing well. It feels unappreciated and lonely. It wants what we have. And this next poem is the last poem in the collection. It's called Z, letter Z, which is a little play off of the Brooklyn poet Louis Zukofsky's sort of opus, which he called A, Z. This is another short poem, and I hope it won't embarrass you. It's my mode, my surplus of labor, my way of polishing a kernel to get to the stars in the far side of the Gowanus Canal. Our fathers are in it too, and always have the last word, except in this case, the ending coming from the beginning of a section of A section beautiful on the lips of every man and woman in Brooklyn, dreaming under a row of oak trees. Paris, Paris. The best writing on mathematics, 2012, and has a epigraph, a Chinese saying, almost right is good enough. While I obviously wasn't included, I respect the symmetry of an equation. Not exactly the equation that's correct, but the one a man or woman tries to get correct and fails. And here a boy enters, floundering with his mathematics, and a father who can't countenance such floundering. No problem, they'll forgive themselves over this issue years later. How many apricots in a line would it take to reach the moon? Let me work on the answer. Reading a poet again after many, many years, I had forgotten how beautiful his writing was, how much I admired his strangeness and bravado, and loved all the women he wrote about. His great sequence has lost none of its enchantment and power. The woman in the green sweater, the cows with various colored wings, and the train track extending up to the moon. The time we let come between us seems so minuscule, despite the truth that I'm older and he's dead. Look at those cows flying by now. Look at how assured they are that this will continue forever. The children of Phu Cat. Mesmerized they were, like all children watching something exotic. The helicopters and the troop cargo planes, big rifles and machine guns carried by many men tall and big. Along the roads, through the paddies, and fanning out among the flame trees, the soldiers passed the children, waiting for them even near the base. Both soldier and child feeling the noise of the war to be rather remote at one moment, close enough the next to seem able to reach out and touch every explosion. Sometimes in their letters, those soldiers would mention the children of Phu Cat and remind their own children to brush your teeth, do your homework, always listen to what your mother says. And those are poems from the Doughnut manuscript. And I wanted to, these are not in the manuscript, but I will continue reading some poems here. Now, we just heard Gloria talking about Ukraine. This is simply called The City, and it was in an anthology, dealing with and for Ukraine, from Hole in the Head Review and 9 Mile Press. The City. I walk around it as if I didn't have a care, holding every care at bay. I do have a packed suitcase in the closet of my apartment, ready for any emergency, though I have no desire to ever leave. I love the city, and it loves me, nonsensical as that must sound to those who aren't in love. In the park by the lake, I'm still amazed by the odd but beautiful peach and pear trees, and on clear days how the sky hovers over the tall buildings like a blue painting, and how the sunlight bathes the ground and all the city's inhabitants. Before I get on a tram, I always say goodbye with a quick wave, never knowing exactly when I'll return. A day in the Republic. My wife and I walked the city, miles and miles, territory we could traverse blindfolded. Even the new establishment seemed familiar. What exactly is new under the sun? We make it back to our front door in time to join the dusk as it turns to darkness. The tiny park almost emptied out. A police siren, but everyone has been good and not afraid of asking about justice. A bit of liquor and cooking on the stove. My wife and I waiting on the bushel of stars the weatherman says will come. Dublin. The Foundling Hospital closed for decades. A poem to honor the lost children lies bronzed under a tree in the nearby park, paradise quietly refusing to be broken. No luscious day in spring capable of repairing every wound. A small salve like a small star will have to do. A shortcut for me now on my way to meeting friends at a pub. Late as usual, but always forgiven. Fisherman. He decides it's time to make that faraway move, believing he can thread his new life as well as he rigged and maintained the trawlers for decades. He wraps up his small drawings of mermaids he did a while ago. That's over, but he can't leave them behind. He won't be found tonight in a string of bars along the waterfront, bars invisibly tethered to the moon. He'll be in bed early, dreaming of the coming dawn, while the mermaids on top of his suitcase bask in the dim light, shining like brides. Note to an older poet. Have that shot of whiskey, whether the day has been beautiful or fraught. So much is passing by, and you want to open the doors like an orphanage that believes it could save all the children, despite the impossible odds. You've been at this a long time. Someone will notice. Small Streets, actually inspired by the great contemporary Hong Kong poet, P.K. Lau. Small Streets. I too love small streets, those orphans who don't want us to make a fuss over them, but are delighted when a stranger shows up and walks through by choice or chance. Big history is never there, though the residents often display a quiet dignity worthy of long years' note. Birds always hop on the concrete. The scrawny trees always seem a little naked, even in a state of bloom. And the moon always looks like you could capture it, put it in your pocket and pull it out whenever you swear it's necessary. A fugitive, not for long. Once I escaped to the village to escape from the city, but I grew tired of the sheep, the meadows and brooks, people who wax poetic on the countryside. Much self-congratulations. This being what I thought I wanted. I returned to the city with dispatch, my suitcase singing in my imagination. The owner of the bodega waved to me. I waved too, and all the women in the neighborhood leaned from their windows or went out on the sidewalks to welcome me back. It was good to be home. Even my small apartment looked less lonely and less dusty, immaculate to a lazy cleaner like me. I slept and dreamed of not just my city, but of many cities. No, I didn't count one sheep. The subways and buses had my attention again. One train coming from the dark of the tunnel, like an angel I recognized. And I'll do just two more poems. The Rays many years ago. Not much, but the air smelled like apples around the plant as I headed to the parking lot. My car that needed everything done still purring on ignition. I watched my shift leaving, the new shift arriving, trucks loaded with forklifts joining the traffic. At home that night, I fell asleep on the couch, the television on, sound low, and I dreamed of getting endless raises in endless amazement. And when I returned to work in the morning, I clocked in, took my position on the line, no longer a rich man. And I will end with, do some fishing along the Seine, but my fishing days are over. Pity for the fish is my excuse. I stand on a bridge and watch all the history and art and a group of pretty women in pretty dresses, all of them cradling books. I couldn't be happier. And I'm very happy to be able to read for all of you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Tim. And moving to our third featured poet, Pui Ying Wong's poetry book, Fan Ling in October, is forthcoming from Barrow Street Press. She is also the author of 3 other collections, The Feast and Emigrant's Winter and Yellow Plum Season, along with 2 chapbooks, Sonnet for a New Country and Mementos. She has received a Pushcart Prize. Her poems have appeared in Ploughshares, Prairie Schooner, Plume, Chicago Quarterly Review, New Letters, and Zone 3, among others. She was born in Hong Kong and lives now in Cambridge with her husband, poet Tim Suermondt. Please welcome Pui Ying Wong.
Thank you, Harris, and thank you, Gloria. And thank you to all of you who show up. I'm really happy to see my friends from everywhere, from so many different states. It's unbelievable. I also want to say that my book, the forthcoming one that Harris mentioned, has just been released by Barrow Street Press. And I'll be reading a few poems from that collection a little later. But I want to start off with some recent poem. And here is one that with a quote from Eugenio Montali. And the title of the poem is called The Station. And there you were at last. I look for you among the many, commuters too hurried to exchange even a glance. But they were not you. Your heavy coat could not hide your brushness. The burgundy cap you always wore beamed like an amulet against drabness. When you saw me and waved, you waved with your whole being, with full knowledge of our present and past, waving the art you knew so well. Once at dusk, we walked across town toward the Hudson and came face to face with a dazzling sunset. Whatever grievances we felt, dispelled in a moment of happiness. I thought about this while waiting for you at the station of coal and fog. Just wonder if there's any problem with the sound, just someone let me know. Yeah. The next poem is kind of like a prose poem, and it has 3 different sections in it, and each one has its own title. So it's just simply called 3 poems. The first one, The Return. And the smell of Freon blown from an air vent in the back alley of a noodle shop suddenly brought back lost time. I was jet-lagged and hungry, and would eat anything, which was the best way to eat. The smell, musty, hints of rotting oranges and chlorine lingering in humid air, hurried me to the harbor. The hills behind the harbor, the ferries coming in, sounding their sharp moans. My long departed parents stepping off the gangplank together, waving. Blue Morocco. I was told the story that once in a small village, olive and thick houses were painted in blue, linking the sea and the sky to windy paths made slick in beveled moonlight. Escapees from the walls in heavy coats and bulging pockets dash up and down terrace steps, holding and releasing their breath, depending on what perk up their ears. All night, torchlights shone into searchlights, when from afar, the whole village shimmered like diamonds. Tai Chi. I am learning balance, but I the day warily like a surfer to her wave. The scenery is always changing, the sea agitated or placid, clouds puffy or rising like an enemy empire. It wasn't long ago that I saw in another place a majestic deer, a tiger cub, and a russet pony letting me stroke her forelock. Now, as I shift my weight back and forth, gauging the coming swell, I think of the golden goose, the one destined to hold her body up with a tiny leg. The next poem is written in memoriam for the great Polish poet Adam Zagajewski. It's called No Illusion. He died just as spring arrived, when June's long light wasn't far, and small towns wake to green shoots and running brooks and open-air markets. Not a child of the ocean, but drawn to rivers winding through brown hills and cities both sublime and tawdry. And to the night sea, bleak, revealing a shared fate, orphaned as we are. The books he signed for us sit on the nightstand, constant companions, a reminder that a higher rim of existence is no illusion. We miss his words, his inward and outward gaze, a gaze never letting go of the dark streaks of poetry and the world's yellow stain. The coat. Sometimes I take it out of the plastic box, surprised at how well it held up. The color is still a cool toned vermilion with a black silk underlay, short collar, front claps Chinese style, falling to my hips. I run my fingers over the embroidered plum blossoms, finches stitched to a branch and to a latex window where a woman is kept at her work table. Needles and threads, a motif unchanged through the years. I was a daughter living in my parents' house. I wasn't talkative. I daydreamed. The coat has come with me house to house, and here in late Massachusetts light, a memory pursuing me. Do I now see the shadows beneath the evergreen, blossoms going limp in a quick frost, and the finches well-bred, non-migratory, singing the virgin songs, spared of lament, the ache of lost and found. They sing exuberantly. They sing in captivity. Lincoln Park. A whistle in the trees, in the middle of the ballpark. A couple in a dugout eating a sandwich. Their dog runs dead ahead to another dog, also unleashed. There they start chasing in circles, wind at their ears. No missiles flying here, no rat-a-tat bullets. It's peacetime afternoon, budding magnolia, and soon long walks, bursts of color. In a plague year, we are resigned to many things. We thirst for light, for the city to return. The sky is utterly clear and blue. It hurts me that one of us always scan it for smoke. So the poem, the last poem I just read was kind of written during the pandemic. It mentioned the plague. And then here I have another poem that was written around that time. It's in my new collection that I'm going to read a few poems here. And this poem is called, well, during the pandemic, we all try to do things in the house. And a lot of people, including me, are trying, we want to feel useful. So baking bread, baking cakes are something that we did. And this poem is called Sugar High. No more sugar, at least no more than 10 grams per day or 70 grams a week, which equals to 7 tablespoons. Mix in exit like a twist of orange zest. Add flours, eggs, dashes of baking soda for lift. There comes after 30 minutes in the oven a sponge cake, buttery and golden. No one says that's writing itself, but it's still something to look forward to in our stay-at-home mode. No surprise, I'm thinking of the Madeleine, a bed-bound Proust craves, knowing nothing lost can be returned whole. The longing doesn't stop the madness of it. The head houses fortnight upon fortnight, memory long as a transcontinental train, sober as a judge, all the days slow dancing on the white screen, my mouth laden with cake. So here, the next poem is inspired by a painting by my Greek painter and my dear friend Tom Keogh, and we have his copy of his painting. And the title of this poem is called Realism. Oh, by the way, Tom is in the audience today, so very happy. Yeah. Realism. After Snowy Fields by Tom Keogh. Snow lies in the foreground in waves. The curved line echoes on the treetops and comes harder and tighter like gathering clouds. Between the dark, a path lit by a volley of light, so a night walker, if there is one, can find her way. On each side, a bare birch, the left one in shadows. The one on the right is shone upon in a rare hour of clarity. The sky, barely visible, conceals its drama for now. With us are things to pass, snow, birches, earth lights. You probably heard about, a few years ago, there was a big democracy movement in Hong Kong. There was a lot of protests, but obviously it's all squashed now. But it inspired a few poems for me, and it's also included in this collection. And this poem, the title is called Be Water. Be water is a term that the protesters use during that time because they want to be as fluid as the water. And to evade police, they try to flow from neighborhood to neighborhood to dilute the police force. And it is a term they actually adopt from Bruce Lee, the martial art actor, and who is one of the teaching in martial art. So it's called Be Water. Pioneers are bedraggled, bruised. The red of an empire spreads like jam over every street. The eye of the city looks back at its own watermark, tries colonize. In the language of domination, what's changed is the way people are regarded, from subjects to children. The bullet misses the boy's heart by a fingernail. People walk out into the heat in morning black, trying to learn the way of water. The eye of the city, thickened by tear gas, will not blink. So I think I will end here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pui. Let's have another round of applause for our three wonderful featured poets tonight: Gloria Mindock, Tim Suermondt, and Pui Ying Wong.
Wonderful reading.
I don't know what's going on with the screen. Some names are coming on, but all right. So we're going to have a short Q&A, which also you can use for comments as well as questions. I didn't notice any names in the chat, so if you want to kind of either raise your hand physically or we're an intimate group, so you can call out if you want to, if I don't see you. So does anybody have any questions? I'll give you 10 seconds or so, but if you don't, I will.
I have a question. Hi, I have a question.
Okay.
This is
ahead,
Deborah
Deborah.
Bono. I have a question for Pui. Where can I find those 3 poems?
Sorry, Ru, which 3 poems?
The one that's called 3 poems.
Oh, that one, I have just written them just a few weeks ago. So
I'm gonna have to beg you for them. They're lovely.
I'll send you a copy.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
They were all great readings. I thought Gloria's poem seemed more direct. I don't know, Gloria, do you think your poems have changed in this last collection? And if so, how do you think that what do you think is different? Gloria?
Okay, I don't think I've changed. I think I've always been direct, but I think this time maybe more forceful because of the war, and I identify with it. I have a Russian friend who can't go home again. That's been here since '81. He has friends in Ukraine, and many lived in Ukraine that were Russian, and then so I think the whole thing just made me more sad and angry that we all have to put up with war. And so I think maybe my poems were a little more forceful.
Yeah, I think it had something to do with the voice. Definitely. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
definitely. Direct, I mean, you're always direct. I agree. But yeah, I think the voice was really there.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm glad that it was.
Oh, I mean, it was very immediate, you know.
Mhm.
That's more of a word that I should have used, I think, instead of direct. Yeah. That makes sense, what you just said. Yeah.
Yes.
Anybody else? Don't be shy.
Yeah, do you see me, Harris? Karen.
Hi, Karen, go ahead.
Okay.
Karen, go ahead.
For Gloria, Glo, I'm just amazed at your ability to continue. These past months have been so battering now. And so many people I know are simply just going under with unable to sustain a kind of hopefulness or just pay attention anymore. I mean, the difficulty to pay attention. And I'm just wondering, where in yourself do you find that ability? Because you are still paying attention.
I always have, and I always like to bring awareness. And when people kind of don't care, a lot of people do, but some people, oh, it doesn't affect me. You know, there's a lot of that sometimes. And I keep I just want to shake people, wake up. This is still going on. Don't forget, because it could be you. My whole life, I've had that ability. Maybe I care too much, but it has to come out somewhere, and it comes out in my poetry. And that, I guess, I have trouble sometimes when people stop paying attention. And so my goal is to make them pay attention. So I
Thank you.
hope I answered you okay.
did.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you. It's a good goal.
I will jump in. I don't have a question. I just want to express my appreciation to all three of you. And there's something about what you were just speaking to, Gloria, in response to Karen's question. There's something about the way your poems, and for all three of you, you did this each in a different way. You touched hard things, and you touched places where things are going away. You touched things where there's loss. And the way you touch these things feels like an invitation and permission to grieve. And your poems are kind of a vehicle to carry the grief. So I just really want to appreciate that. It's very, very moving and gracious of you to touch those things on all of our behalves. And so thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Last call.
I actually wanted to ask Tim a question. When I really enjoyed your poems, when you write your poetry, you have a lot of, or in your poetry, you have a lot of wry observations, you know, and I just wonder, are they there at the beginning, or do you find they come in as you're editing? Because some of the lines are just so perfect for it.
Well, thank you for that. Well, am I far from perfect, but I appreciate you saying that. That's great. No, a lot of times I will work on the poem in my head before I ever begin to sit down and write it. Although lately I've just been, not paying attention to anything poetic as something jumps in my mind, and I think, oh, let's see if this leads anywhere. Yeah. So sometimes I'll have something, I need something to start. So I'll do that. But as I'm going along, there can be certainly many changes from what I had originally thought. So it's a little bit of both. I need something to get the car going, but once it's going there, I've got to, I want to take different, it's going to take different pathways. So I'll have to see just what's the right one and the quickest way to get to the freeway. If that makes any sense.
I really enjoyed it. The poem that had the basket of stars in it was amazing. So you're lucky to have each other to write about. So.
Oh, no, that's true. That's true. My first reader, my first critic, and Pui does not let me get away with anything. So if the poems are good, it's not me. It's Pui's
No.
critical eye.
Well, I enjoyed all three of you. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I loved your poems. You know, there's such precision really in your images, and the line, I could just hear the lines, and I thought that I just thought they were wonderful. I thought they were some of the best poems of yours I've ever read. So congratulations. I think that was
Thank you for that, Mary. That's really kind of you.
I mean it.
So this is Deborah again. I have a question for Gloria that harks back to the second or third person before me about her poems that keep us paying attention. Who of your contemporaries do you think, I don't want to say liken yourself to, but who among your contemporaries do you think are some of the better poets who force us to pay attention?
I think, well, the witness poets, of course, Carolyn Forche, you know, and then I read a lot of translations that go back to war, and their names I can't pronounce, so I'm not going to try, but I get a lot of inspiration from those, and they make me tick when I read them. And by that, I mean, I have to write when I read them. And I don't know, some of you probably read Carolyn Forche's Against Forgetting. That book is wonderful, and that gets me going. Sometimes I pull it out. She edited it, I should say. So there's just so many, really, but a lot of them are translations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gloria, and everyone was amazing tonight. It was such an incredible reading. I really enjoyed it. And I guess, Glo, I just wonder how you can delve into the brokenness, the darkness, the death, war, and still carry on a life where you are giving so much to the community and also such a together person. I mean, just sane, and my perception of you anyway. How do you get yourself out of the writing, the void of some of what you write about, to just carry on with your life? I just amazes me.
That's a hard question. I don't know how to answer it. I just do it. I've always had empathy. I can always put myself in other people's positions, and maybe that's why I was a counselor and clinical director for so many years. But I mentioned before, ever since I was a little girl, I've always been kind of political, wished for peace. And I thought maybe something's wrong with me because I really had this yearning for peace all the time, but there's always some countries fighting. I can separate myself. I learned to do that. I do get frustrated sometimes when I watch the news, when I hear some of the political crap, then I get kind of like, and I have to let go. But I can separate, and I feel like I get it all out in my writing so that I can live my life, you know, and I can do what I love to do. So a balance is really important. If I stayed too much on the dark side and the war side, I don't know, that's not healthy. So I think I keep a good, strong balance.
Is there anybody else? Okay. I think it's time, if anybody, we're going to move on to the limited open mic. I didn't quite see anybody's names in chat. So if you want to read, you know, please let me know. I won't be offended if you volunteer verbally? Do we have anybody who wants to read? Don't everybody step up at once.
So I'd like to read, but I'd like not to be the only one who's going to read because it's kind of a hard act to follow.
Okay, you won't be the last one because I'll
Can't
close.
hear. Okay,
Right.
Karis, I want to read.
Okay.
Okay,
And I want to say something to Deborah first. When you were talking about who other poets pay attention.
What
I
other
was-
poets did Gloria particularly?
Want, okay. Long ago, not so long ago, certainly in my lifetime, a poem that tore me up and led me to reading a whole different group of poets was The Burning of Paper Instead of Children. In the Vietnam War, Adrian Rich immortalized the Berrigan brothers' burning of the draft records for which they were jailed. And I remember reading that poem and it shocked me into awareness. So
Yeah, I'll
I
look
think
that up. I love
Adrian-
her.
I think Adrian always did pay attention to a
Right.
number of different things. But I'll go first to read, and then I hope a lot of people will read. I think I'm off. Okay. All right. This is a very new poem, and it's called A Requiem for Three Voices. I will do each voice and just quietly be quiet between them. They're imagined voices. A requiem for three voices. What a dance. The music was fabulous. Great rave. I looked all over for you, hoping to dance with you, but there were so many people. Well, if you were there and I missed you, I'm sorry. If you weren't able to get there, please get in touch. I'm writing you this letter, trying to find a post office. I'm running to find a post office. Where is it? I'm running. Hi, honey. I saw you go out to the car, but I haven't heard you come back in. There was so much noise outside, I got scared and took the kids. I forgot to leave you a note to tell you that we're in the safe room. So that's where we are, safe.
Huh.
Damn this phone, damn this country, can't do a damn thing about communication. Trying to text you to tell you I can't meet you tonight. I've been called up. There's some stuff going down in Gaza and I'm on my way there. So babe, stay hot for me till I get back.
Okay, Deborah, you're next.
Okay, I'm next. A boy from my hometown named Hans or Kurt or Rolf from Österreich, now living in mostly Jewish neighborhoods on the Upper West Side, dark apartments overlooking the Hudson, hallways lined with abstract art, antique prints, carved chests, kitchens dense with European cooking, schnitzel, dumplings, cucumber salad. Our visits always lasted too long. Everyone, even my mother, spoke German. I knew only its sounds. There were never any kids, no toys, no picture books, only oily tea with leaden strudel or pound cake. Sometimes there'd be a little dog, Mookie maybe, white fur soft as moss, slight doggy breath. A boy from my hometown, my mother always said, as if that explained their mutual connection. It never meant what I'd thought, I realize now. Not bygone boyfriends, beaux, lovers. Code. Code for those who grasped the growing threat. Those like her who watched, grief charged, didn't linger, got out in time. Thanks.
Thank you.
I can read a poem.
Oh, Gary, go ahead.
Yeah. This is a poem from my new book that just came out, actually. The book is called Being There. And here's a poem in the middle of the book. It's called That Want in My Hand. I long for a story as perfect as the stone I picked up as a kid walking the creek. The stone as silent as its voice, as spoken as its silence. I couldn't help but wonder if I was hearing something from the stone, a signal of protest, or maybe delight that I'd picked it up, chosen it from others nearby. I wanted to hear what it was the stone might be saying in its tongue, its way of breaking the silence it lived right there where I spotted it. And with that want in my hand, reached for it, rubbed loose the dirt that clung to its sides in hopes I'd hear its faultless tale, while its hard smoothness began to warm in the wrap of my palm. My child mind began its helpless worry, whether or not I'd disturbed it, maybe the whole cosmos and me with it, just by picking it up. All afternoon, tromping down the creek, I wondered if I should take it back to where I'd found it. Evening came. I turned toward the barn. Late day sunlight began to spread its warm and yellow glow around my troubled shoulders. That and the stone's slight heft comforted me. My feet felt the quiet dirt. I grew silent. Without my knowing how it happened, something had settled. Now, only a boy, a stone in his pocket. Thank you.
John, are you going to read, or is that?
Yeah, may I read?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Hey, first off, I'd like to just show this book. Came out recently. It's a book of 100-word prose poems called 10,000. Not a very original title, but you can get it at Amazon. It's got some good reviews at Amazon, or you can get it from Exot Books if you'd like to check it out more. Okay, I'm going to do a really dumb thing. Because of all this stuff that's going on, I just had this kind of burst this morning, and I'm going to read it, which is really stupid. You know, I should obviously have something more polished. But you know that George Santana had that famous saying that those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. And every once in a while, I think those of us who do know history are doomed to watch people repeat it. And that's kind of the feeling that drove this. And it's got a very simple title called War. And I hope it doesn't fall too flat. War. Now that death is busy scouring the way in the midst of feathers and cinders from the buildings crashing, among the snaps of dry brush blooming inside flames, we once expected hidden fire to come alive, to be calm and strong, not assigned, not devoted. And when that which was not there vanishes, a mere hand away from the grasp of our eyes, nothing remains but another cold rage. The colony left long ago before the hearth of land, its citizens wearing last century's rags, women still stunned by the oblivion clinging closed their children's coverings. Hence, hence, their leaders say in large lighted rooms, with clenched fists waving like apples floating on the stream with insistent voices. Their trained eyes cut through the mist of sound. They wait, we wait. For what reason have they come to this? For what wrong are they the colony left out, the colony with no place to land? It has not always been so. It is still in the minds of those who hold precious images of a place exiled before they became the people who circled the landed world in a sagging orbit, who now have brought the fire that crashes far beyond the land that holds their memories. And the people who now are ruthless murderers, the world's wealthiest people now, existing so far beyond the displaced people's imagination. They are forgotten. Those were the wars then, and these are the wars now, the perfectly fitting wars. Beyond the walls, bombs, the landless colony spent years accumulating sin joy through all the landless hearts. An explosion burst open a grave. Cartons and rags and old bags and the shit of the soon-to-be displaced people and their creatures pour down the street. The entire flow is covered with glinting gold, but it is not true gold, indeed not true gold. Perhaps it is the remnants of the ground crisp of the most beautiful autumn leaves. There is silver too, but they are sure it is fine dust that flies when locks are cut and keys are ground, when bullets crumble. The gold is not real. The silver is not real. Flames screech soundlessly. There is an answer for all that is seen. There is an answer for all that is seen. Thank you.
I'd like to read a poem.
Oh, good.
Okay.
You're on.
Okay. My name is Norman Stock. This is from my book called Pickled Dreams Naked. It's called A Yarmulke. I am alive for a reason, but I don't know the reason. So I went to the rabbi and I said, "What is the reason?" The rabbi spit in my face. He said, "You have to ask?" I said, "A Zen master rabbi. For this, I would even wear a yarmulke."
Do we have any last person or next to last? If we don't have anybody else who wants to read, I'll close it out with a poem. Going once? Anybody else? No? Okay, I'll close it out then. So this one is called High Tide in America. Strange autumn this, with climate change mushrooming beyond our control. We are beyond our control. We are compelled to face the ever-present peril of wildfires and floods. In the countryside, there are still fairs with mazes to challenge families. Booths of bounty from the fields flourish with their tempting wares, fruits and produce, ears of corn with occasional small bug. Gourds and squash maintain a picturesque presence. Still, we must be diligent to protect the pollinators, lest all this sustenance tragically disappears. Nature is threatening retribution for corporate polluters and public neglect of rivers, oceans, eroding land and air. The alarm sounded a while ago. Did enough of us awaken to voice care, or did too many go back to sleep? So anyway, I want to thank our three featured poets again for a wonderful, wonderful evening that indeed was special. I want to thank Gloria Mindock, Tim Suermondt, and Pui Ying Wong.